Misfits, people ask me all the time about tools that I use in my life and business to maximize my success. I usually start by telling them one of my most powerful tools is my morning habits. And of course, they look at me somewhat confused. I then explain how important it is for me to center myself and how I begin my day and plan for my success. It's critical to consistent high performance. And it doesn't take me long, about 5 or 10 minutes, because I use a great resource called the 5-Minute Journal. The 5-Minute Journal is the simplest, most effective way I've ever found to start your day in the right mindset, doing the right things, and set yourself up for success. And it is exactly what it says, a 5-minute exercise you can do each day. Let me ask you, if you could reach your next level in your life and business by spending just 5 minutes of focused time a day, would you do it? I bet you would. And I know it works because I've experienced the power of it. And you can get your 5-minute journal simply by going to www.misfitentrepreneur.com/journal. That's misfitentrepreneur.com/journal. Do what I do. Use this amazing resource to give yourself an edge in your performance and your success. Get your 5-minute journal today.
Hey everybody, Dave Lukas. Welcome to a special episode of the Misfit Entrepreneur. I am walking my buddy Champ out here. Hey buddy. And I've heard a lot from you guys about wanting more of these special episodes where I just share some of the knowledge and wisdom that I've gained and experience and stuff with you guys. So I figured while I'm on this walk with my buddy here, I would give you some of that. So I was asked recently this week about the parallels between racing Ironman and being a CEO. And it was a great question. And I thought a lot about it. And I thought I'd share my thoughts with you because there are so many parallels. And I just completed Ironman Chattanooga about a week ago and was fortunate to qualify for the World Championships from that race. And as I thought about it, there are so many parallels. We were dealing with the hurricane, right? And obviously there are some areas of the U.S. that are absolutely devastated by that. So the fact that we were even able to get a race in the driving rain was a miracle itself. And I'm so blessed and fortunate to be able to do that. And our prayers are with all of those that are affected by the hurricane and in all those areas of the U.S. that are still reeling from it. But the first thing I really thought about is that it's an Ironman, not a marathon. And you've heard it's a marathon, not a sprint before, but it's an Ironman. It's not a marathon. And for those of you who don't know what Ironman is, it's about a 2.5-mile swim followed by a 112-mile bike ride followed by a full marathon. And so much longer. It's really the preeminent one-day endurance race. And it's really the long game, right? Because you have to get everything right at different parts of the race to be able to keep going to even, number one, finish one of these, but number two, to be competitive. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. But it really does represent the long game of business because business is a long game, right? We are playing a long game as entrepreneurs, right? I know we see the sexy things out there of all these businesses that, maybe make the headlines of, being a unicorn and that stuff. But in reality, those are very, very, very minute and few and far. And a lot of times the unicorns don't even make it in the end. They get sky high valuations and don't even make it, right? We see that with things like WeWork and things like that. So when you approach a business, it really is about playing the long game. And so to me, that's what it's like. I mean, if you think about it, you got to get the swim done, right? And that's to me, the startup phase, right? You just got to you got to get the swim done before you can even get to the real racing, right? And that's getting through that is hard enough, right? And you got to come out and you got to still have the energy and the stamina to keep going. And then that's where the scale phase comes, right? And that's a 112-mile bike ride, right? As fast as you can do it, right? And that's the next part of it. And then you have, after the scaling phase, you obviously have to keep it going and the consistency of it all and everything. And that's really the run because you get on the bike, you got to run a marathon now, right? And so it really is a great parallel for the long game in business. And so that's one of the lessons I take away from it. The next lesson that I take away is it's on the mental game. And, as long as I've done this now and competed in world championships and done, 3 to 4 of these races a year for years, every single race still is challenging. It still provides, there are points at the race no matter what, right? Where my brain is telling me to slow down or, you don't have to keep going or you can quit. It's driving down, pouring rain, torrential downpour, and you're riding 23 miles an hour on a bike and at 24 miles an hour, you need to slow down, right? You're going to potentially hurt yourself or something could happen, right? So you have all these thoughts going through your mind. You're on the run and it's like, just, your body wants to stop. Your legs want to stop and you're sitting there and you're like, I guess I can walk for a while. But that's really, once that starts to happen, it becomes the kiss of death, because then you start walking more and more and you slow down and everything else, right? And so there is this mental game that you have to play, the gymnastics of it and everything, back and forth with yourself on these races that you have to bust through. It's great because it up levels every time. Like even at this point in my career in this racing and stuff, and I'm been fortunate to be ranked in the top few percent in the world for my age group and all that. I still have these mental challenges that I have to bust through in every race. And that's how entrepreneurship is, right? Every time we reach a mental limit or a mental hurdle that, we bust through, it helps us get to the next level. And I always say that entrepreneurship is a series of peaks and valleys. And the peaks are so sweet, but we spend a lot more time in the valleys than we do the peaks. And it's what we do in the valleys, the things, the challenges, the problems, all the stuff that we take on and overcome in those valleys that really make the peaks oh so sweet and help us to plateau up and level up. And so it's the same with racing and everything, right? There's always the mental game of it. And you have to constantly challenge your mental limits and push them to new heights and everything. And so that's another great parallel as a CEO. You're always having to do that. You're having to do it with your team too, right? You're having to give them, that push, if you will, and then help them through it, right? Not just push them and let it go, but you got to just, you got to help them through. You got to be in the trenches with them and everything, right? And that's a huge thing. And then the next thing that, hey, Champ, what are you doing, buddy? So the next thing is we have to deal with a lot of things in business. And there's so many things as an entrepreneurs that are on our mind every day, and so many ideas and things that hit us and shiny objects and all the things that come our way. But when it boils down to it, it's the little things that make the biggest difference. And so what I mean by like in Ironman, nutrition. If you don't have nutrition right, no matter how good a shape you're in, you're going to hit issues with your body not being able to physically keep going. And I've felt this before when I haven't gotten enough salt and stuff where my legs literally lock up. My muscles can't keep going because I don't have enough salt and nutrition in them. So like it's every little thing. So every race I do is meticulously planned out when I take my nutrition, what time, all that stuff. There's so many calories I got to get. I got to get so many electrolytes. I got to take salt at these certain times. I got to get potassium in at different times and everything else. If I don't eat that half a banana on mile 13 of the run, I'm going to feel it on mile 22. And so it's the same in business. The little things, the things that the things that you don't want to deal with, right? Because the big picture, you want to deal with all the big stuff and everything and go after the big opportunities and all these things. But it really is the little things that make all the difference. Creating the SOPs, right? And doing those little things, those tedious things, those things that that you need to do. We got a bunch of classic cars going by. It's kind of cool. Those things that you need to do, even when you don't want to do them, are so important. We'll watch them go by. These are beautiful cars. Hey, guys. Never know what you're going to see on our road out here. So, but yes, those little tiny things, those little tiny tedious details that you are always, they're there, but you just don't necessarily want to get to them or don't want to deal with them. Those are the things you need to attack, right? It's the process written out so that a new employee can do the job well, or it's maybe the contract or the operation agreement that you haven't updated in a while. All those little things make a huge difference in your business. And it's the same in racing. It's the same as running a business and CEO. It's the little things absolutely make the biggest difference. So take that to heart. If you've got little things that you've been neglecting in your business or, haven't taken a step back and say, like, what are the processes we need to document and get in place, that type of stuff. It's such a huge thing, right? And I've learned that through racing is absolutely, given me a good respect for that because I've been where I literally have, like I said before, have not been able to finish a race almost, had to walk in for 5 or 6 miles because of how my nutrition wasn't right? So that's a big thing. And your equipment and everything is part of those little things too, right? The the things that you choose as like maybe software you use in your business, like your CRM and all that stuff and how you set it up, all of that matters, right? So that's another really, really good parallel between like racing these races and everything. So we got the long game, we got the mental game, we got the little things that make a difference. And the last thing is training and the discipline and the consistency and the persistence. You guys have heard me say this time and time again, DCP formula, discipline, consistency, persistence. It means everything. And what does that mean? Well, discipline is doing the things that you know you need to do, even when you don't want to do them. Consistency is doing that day in and day out without fail. And even if you are disciplined and you are consistent, you are going to hit what seems to be insurmountable roadblocks, brick walls that just, are seem impossible to get over. And if you aren't willing to persevere or persist through those at that time, then that's where you stagnate. That's where you stop. And so, people ask me, like, even my wife's like, do you got to train for 3 hours today? Yes, I do. It's the discipline of it. And the other thing about being disciplined, right? So my days are very structured, and believe it or not, structure is a lot of freedom. And having that structure every day, I know what I'm getting up to do. I've got exactly what I'm going to do in my business and my things for the day. I've got my top things that I'm accomplishing. I got my workout set. I got my meal set. I got all that stuff. That structure in my life helps me to be more effective, more efficient, and puts me in the best shape that I can be to do these races. And being in great fitness and shape also helps me to be a better CEO. I can think clearly, more consistently. I don't get tired. I don't get the midday, drags that people get because I built my fitness and everything. And that's another thing. You have to be on your game, all the time as a CEO. And that's so hard. It's so hard leading a business as an entrepreneur and, having to be on your game, especially mentally all the time, because you can get that fatigue. So building your fitness is so important, but it's the discipline, it's the consistency, and it's the persistence of doing that time and time again, because you can be disciplined for one day. That's not going to do it for you. You got to do it consistently over time. And as you do, you get better and better, and you're able to overcome those roadblocks. Your mental game gets better, right? You're able to, level yourself up. You're able to get all those little things done, and you're able to play that long game really better than others. Remember, winning as an entrepreneur doesn't mean you have to be like so much better than your competition in one way or another. It's just a few things, just a little bit better that add up to that huge advantage. And so hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully there's a lot of parallels you see between racing an endurance race like the Ironman and leading a company, because they are very much the same. And if you're in, business and you're doing this sort of stuff too, I would think you'd agree with that. And so I hope you can take a lot away from this. I hope you can, use it to your advantage so that you're more successful. Thanks for tuning into this episode, and we'll see you in the next one.